everyone from the Sculpture Studio. I'm back here ready to share with you another of my musical reflections. And today I want to focus on color. And I'll start on a more personal note. Often people ask me, what do colors mean to you? And having never seen, colors are something of an abstract concept to me. But I make sense of colors by associating them with things that I can relate to. So for example, brighter colors with brighter sounds, or darker colors with dark sounds. But I also am sensitive to the symbolism of colors. So I associate, for example, blue with the sky, or with vastness, or the sea, or with feeling blue, or red with passion, with the sun, with warmth, with blood. So all these associations ultimately help me make colors more meaningful to me. But to return to my main subject, which is of course guitar and music, color is one of those magical things that the guitar can do so well. And in fact, Hector Berlioz was saying once that the guitar is a little orchestra. And then somebody replied, well, do you mean to say, sir, that the orchestra is a big guitar? Anyway, witticisms aside, it does remain one of the beautiful qualities of the guitar that we can play the same note in so many different ways. And I'm going to illustrate. So one of the first ways to use color is to play the same passage with different instrumentations, with different colors, kind of imitating instruments. So here was a very similar passage played differently. Another way to use colors is one that's very interesting to me, and that's helping clarify which notes should be heard in the foreground and which in the background. By using brighter, more penetrating sounds, you can make a certain note or a certain line stick out. I'm going to illustrate by playing the beginning of a fugue by Bach. And first I will try to not use any colors, but just volume to differentiate the voices. And then I'll play it again, adding color into the mix. So, they're pretty clear, the voices. But now let's add different shades of color. And so on. This last passage is kind of interesting because it illustrates very well the advantage of being able to control the color of each note. Here I have a line that starts on the third string, and often the third string kind of sounds woo, very dark, unless you play with carbon strings, of course. But even so, it's harder to make this third string stick out. So you can, of course, play the note louder, but you can make it clearer. So by making the sounds clearer, I'm hoping to clarify and help people listen to this line. Do, si, la, sol, fa, mi. Incidentally, here we have a situation that leads me to my next use case of color, which is I have this line, do, si, la, sol, but I have 3 notes on 3 different strings, do, si, and la, on the 3rd, 2nd, and 4th string. So normally these strings each have such an individual color, so if I was to play them with the exact same stroke of my right hand, I wouldn't get a similar color, but I would get each note sounding quite differently. So I'm actually using here color to annihilate color, to compensate for the inherent differences of the colors of each string, and trying to get the same color by changing my stroke accordingly. Another way to use color is, of course, to give the illusion of greater dynamics. I mean, let's face it, guitar is not the most dynamic instrument if you compare it to piano or violin or singers. The difference between our softest passages and the loudest passages is not great. It's not so big. But then we can give the illusion. So I'm getting louder, but I'm also getting clearer. So by playing around with sound color, you can extend, so to say, the perception of the people so they feel like dynamics are enhanced. Yes, so this is color, but what do we do? How do we obtain all these different colors? One of the first ways that come to mind is to play to change the place on the string. So by being very close to the bridge, you get more overtones, so the sound is brighter, and also there is more tension in the strings close to the bridge. So, and then as we go to the left, the sound is more subdued, more, well, warmer, you could say, but definitely changes. However, it's not always practical to meander like this on the strings, especially if you're playing complex fingerings and faster tempos. You don't want to unbalance your hand by walking around the whole string like that. So then there are other ways to change colors, which are changing the rotation of the hand. And by changing the angle of the nail on the string, we get very different sounds. So I'm going to illustrate. As I rotate and as my nails become more oblique towards the strings, the sound gets rounder, and as I go more perpendicular, the sound gets clearer. And I'm hardly changing the position of the hand on the string. It's kind of in the same spot. So this is a much more economical way to change color. And the last one, which I think is kind of less spoken about, and probably people are less aware of it, is by controlling the amount of firmness in the last joint of the fingers, the one that's closest to the fingernail. I mentioned in previous posts how if we are not careful when we want to play a string, we risk hooking it from underneath, and we get this horrible kind of snappy, aggressive sound. Now, to avoid that, we have to lean into the string. However, if we play with this effect in a more controlled way, we can still use a little bit of this brightness, and by changing, like I said, the angle of the finger onto the string through the firmness of the joint. So let's say if the joints are very relaxed, kind of like brushes that kind of have a give, then the nail is on top of the string and pushes into the string, and we get a very deep, dark, round sound. But if we add a little bit of firmness and change the sound this way, the angle of the string and the nail together, we get a lighter sound. So now I'm not even rotating my hand, but just by changing how much I'm curling my fingers and how firm I keep them, I change color. This is very practical if you just want to make one note out of a chord sound clearer, like in that passage of the Fugue by Bach. So not not only am I playing this note louder, but I'm actually adding an extra snap in my last joint. So, and then. So these are the three main ways to control color. And I hope you enjoyed my reflections about color and how it can work in enhancing the expressivity of our pieces, and also in how we can approach creating all these different colors on the guitar. And I'm looking forward, as usually, to hearing from all of you. And if you have any questions or suggestions, I'll keep track of them. And don't worry, I haven't forgotten of the previous ones. And I will include them in future posts. So thanks very much, all of you, and looking forward to seeing you soon.